And as long as the header was there and the codecs were the same, you could take two segments and glue them together and they'll play. And so you'll actually, you can be watching Family Guy and all of a sudden you'll see, Seth MacFarlane talking or something. You'll see two segments that don't belong together. So it can happen. And so that's one of the things that happens with some of these. So now I'm going to talk about RAID 5 and then we're going to do RAID 5 and RAID 0. So RAID 5. What is RAID 5 for?
No downtime.
No downtime. It's supposed to be enough for no downtime so that the server can keep running so someone can pull the drive out and put another drive in. So if you're at, when it was designed, the whole point was going to be my server crashes. At least if a hard drive crashes, my server doesn't crash. I can keep my content running while I get another drive. But part of what's happened now is so small businesses aren't buying extra drives. They don't have them in stock. Small businesses are buying one little server with 3 or 5 drives in their RAID array or whatever, and they wait for a drive to die, and then they call Dell and say, I got one, or something like that. But if they don't have a warranty or they're not, they don't have them in stock, then what happens is the IT guy, he has to go fill out a little purchase order and he gives it to the guy, blah, 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 and hopefully someday they'll actually have a drive. But you're going to see it in for recovery in the meantime because the next drive is going to die, and they didn't really put one in time. But the other thing that happens a lot is that when they put the new drive in, there's some other problem or something happens and 2 drives die around the same time.
That's a very popular.
Yes, it's a very popular problem. So when you're dealing with RAID 5, there's 2 types of controllers. In RAID 5, it is very popular to have one off on your motherboard or one on your host-based controller, and there is in servers and stuff, they normally would have what's called a discrete controller. The discrete controller will have a CPU. That's the difference between the discrete controller and a host-based controller. So the discrete controller has its own processor, and it's going to be able to handle the math that's necessary to keep the RAID array running much more efficiently. The host-based controller is using your CPU. And so when a drive dies, there's a lot of weight put on your local CPU to keep the calculations done for the data to exist. The data does not exist without all the drives actually existing at the same time. So it's a lot heavier on the system on a host-based controller. So we're going to do this in software in a RAID controller, but I'm going to show you an animation that at least makes this a little bit more exciting. I used to use this when I needed to sell a server or something like that to the client, and I said, this is going to be your solution. Okay, so this is my